Thank you everybody for coming into this YouTube video today. Welcome again to Mariana in Yucatan. This is an effort to make legal assistance and legal information free and available to everybody in Mexico or coming to Mexico. My name is Mariana and I am an immigration attorney, a real estate attorney as well, and a certified real estate agent. And I'm very excited because today I have here Oscar with me from vm3. He's one of our very excellent business partners, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about moving your things from, for example, US down to Mexico, which is very important. So thank you so much, Oscar, for being here today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mariana, Max Life team. Thank you everyone for this opportunity. I think it's really important to speak about the household goods because definitely is one of the things that maybe bring a lot of doubts. And of course, Mexico, it's complicated, but it's not if you choose the right company to move. So yeah, thank you very much for this invitation.
No, thanks to you for coming in. And definitely, I think in our job and doing part immigration, helping people to legally move to Mexico, is one of those questions that people have, one of those fears, right? Because they say, well, Mariana, I have my visa, my Mexican visa now. I have everything ready to be able to move and start a new life in Mexico, but I have a life here back home. I have my things, I have my car that I really like, my pets, and it's one of those things that at least, I mean, for sure, us at Max Life, we're not experts at, but it's one of the most asked questions. So today I bring you Oscar, one of the experts at the vm3, and we're going to do a little bit of some of the questions that most of our clients ask us. And of course, if you do like this video, please feel free to subscribe, to leave a comment down below, and we will leave Oscar's information also in the description box so that you can contact him and his company and make sure to have just like a very safe moving of your goods to your new life in Mexico. I always like to start by this question that I feel that makes it really valuable because it's the why of our company, right? So could you let us know a little bit, how VM3 started, how you actually wanted to start this business of helping people being able to move their things to another country. How did that start?
Yeah, that's really a pretty good question because, of course, when I was studying international business, the university was, I never thought that I will be doing this for living. So this really started with a company I used to work that was for corporates, actually, not private market. So I get involved on this relocation for these executives around the world. And of course, one of the things that I understood is that moving abroad is not just moving your stuff. Uh, it all started with you, actually, Mariana, with the immigration part, where you have to do all the paperwork and all the long process to get your temporary residence card or your permanent residence cards. It's kind of difficult starting with that, and then you have to send all your stuff. And we're not talking about domestic moves as they are really simple, more simple, but international move is complex. So I do start the working for another company for 8 years. And then since the pandemic were finishing at the end of the pandemic, I start to found BM3. I started also with domestic moves only, and 1 year and the next year I opened the company. I just started to help people moving to Mexico and then developing all these strategic processes and logistics. It's really interesting that there are key points that we have to be really careful on these moves that we will speak later. But of course, one of the things that I love to do in my job is to help people. So I took this experience of moving, international moving, and I just create this company, BM3. So now I'm helping people. I'm helping corporates also for the relocation to other countries. So that's what I do. That's the reason I wanted to open my own company, because I really wanted to print really support company for these people that is moving abroad, and it's not easy. Even though it could be Mexico, US, or other country, it's never easy. Of course, I'm really glad I can help, and I'm really glad I can be here so I can share a little bit about how the moving process is, and which points do you have to take care of.
No, thank you so much, Oscar. I mean that's super interesting because I feel like depending on the client, right? You mentioned something interesting that there's a lot of fears involved and the stress involved, and I mean, I've actually never really moved to another country long term. I've done it for a few months,
Okay.
maybe, now and then. But just planning everything from emotions and, maybe you're leaving things behind. It is a lot of stress for anybody to go through. And just knowing that somebody can be there to help you every step of the way and that really cares about the person, right? Because in the end, it might be goods for us, but it's, a life for some people, right? So that's so cool
Yeah.
that we're able to start this and it's something that you love. I try to imagine because like I said, I have never moved long term out of Mexico, but a lot of our clients maybe have moved from place to place in their own country, let's say US, Canada, they've maybe experienced the part of putting things into boxes and moving it to another state. But really, what would you say it's the big difference of moving, like I have the experience of moving from one place to another in my own country, but moving to another country like Mexico. What would you say is the biggest difference?
Okay, maybe focusing maybe in US, Canada. Um, the most difficult thing is bureaucracy in Mexico and understanding all the customs clearance, all the customs brokers. I actually always mention to my clients that we are not a logistic company. We are a moving company, which is different because we are not just moving things or stuff or belongings. We are moving lives, actually. And if you are making all this process go and running to change your country and sending all your things because you want that stuff to be delivered as well as you send it, and this is what we focus. So I think really it's really important. They will have to develop this open mind because bureaucracy doesn't work like with processes, doesn't work like like reasonable. And I think the first bureaucracy it's gonna be immigrant. They will experience that kind of these decisions, paperwork. Maybe it doesn't make sense, but you have to trust in your company because otherwise, do it alone is gonna be a headache for everyone. So I will say that you have to keep open-minded and try to follow all the steps that we can do to process all the moving.
Definitely. I feel like that's a very valuable suggestion. I think that, some people like to say, I don't really like that comment personally, but like, oh, it's Mexico, right? But no, I mean, every country has their bureaucracy, but definitely if you come in expecting it to be like you're used to, maybe back home, you're gonna, have really a bad experience. But if you can trust somebody to do it, bureaucracy changes a lot and probably happened to you, Oscar, but it happens to us one day they say one thing the
Yeah,
next day another, so we have to keep updating ourselves and along with the laws to be able to give the best service. So definitely it is something that can help you
exactly.
release a lot of stress, being able to know that somebody's there that that knows the process. Something that might not be very usual to people is this moving process, right? So could you explain to us a little bit, like if I contacted you today and said, Oscar, you know what, I want to move to Mexico. Maybe I already saw my immigration process, but what can you do for me? How do we start? What are the steps that you take to be able to help somebody do this move to Mexico?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and I would recommend to start with time in advantage, like 3 months. If you already know that in 6 months you will be moving, just start contacting moving companies because, of course, if this is your first time moving abroad, you have to contact these companies. In our case, we do a consultation. It's a free consultation to explain the whole moving process and also the regulations because sometimes our clients just say, I'm going to pay maybe some and I will get my stuff to Mexico. But that's not how Household Good works. So We have a specific regulations to comply, and also we do have to present a lot of documents. And one of them, and the most important, is the temporary residence card or the visa. If you are a Mexican coming back to Mexico, you will have to do another process. You will have to ask for household goods certificate in the Mexican consulate, the nearest Mexican consulate you have, the origin country. So it's important to have this consultation to be aware of how the whole process will be. And so we always start with this one, and we take advantage of this consultation to also make like we say a survey. The client can show the house and all the stuff they wanna pack. So with this, we can also plan the best logistics, because we have different ways to send the stuff. We have air shipments, we have sea shipments, or also land shipments. And not because, and this is something I always tell to my clients, not because the name of all of this is logistics will have to be logical, you know.
Yes.
Sometimes we do say like, okay, let's send everything by land. We are we are close. I mean, we have a border there. But sometimes, because of the prices, because of the difference between freights, could be a better way to send it to Veracruz, or maybe because of the current problems that the port can have, maybe it's better to choose another one, you know. So it's really important to be close to this moving company, so we can advise them how the best way to send the belongings are. I always say, and my team say to our clients, like, look, if I have to make 3 quotes, I will do it. But eventually you will have to choose between timing, costs, and between also how do you want your belongings to be packed, because all of these will represent a variation in the quotation. So it's important to be aware, and we always explain. I don't know, maybe I can explain you a little bit. I always like synthesize the information. I will say that we have 6 steps that we do in the whole moving process. The first one is the packing. We will pack all your belongings, and it's really important to be aware that all the packaging material that we use, it's really a high quality, so we can reduce the risk to have any damage on the belongings. You know, this is a long process. It could take maybe from 5 to 8 or 10 weeks, depending on the logistics. So you will have to be aware that you will not have your belongings for 3 months. Maybe this is one of the part that you have to plan whenever you are relocating, because maybe you will have to live in a suite or live in an Airbnb for 3 months.
Yes.
Until all your stuff arrives. You know, it is important. So first of all, the packing, we have the documentation. This is a key point, because if we don't have the complete documentation to clear the shipment, we will not be able to send it. This is because it's a really important thing. I have, and I'm gonna try to explain it in an example, because I have a client that told me like, okay, I'm getting my resident card maybe in 2 weeks, so you can start sending my belongings, so we can save some time. But it didn't take
Yeah, it happens.
3 weeks. It takes 2 months. So if we send the shipment and we don't have the visa or the completed documents, all the shipment will be in a warehouse in the port. This cost will be super high, you know, and all the moving process will increase. It probably will double the first proposal I will send. So it's really important to avoid being in the port. So we are always clearing all the shipments in 5-7 days. I mean, we are trying. Of course, it's not all in our hands. If the shipment stays there, eventually maybe you will be paying the double of the price. So it's really important to have all the documents and then sending the shipment. And I say this because most of our clients try to be proactive and try to save time, because of course 3 months without your belongings is it's a considerable
Yes, a long time.
time. So yeah, but it's important to take advantage on the timing. So if you are, whenever you know you are moving, maybe in 6 months, you can start contacting this moving company, and we don't have any problem to wait 6 months until we do your moving. You know, it's better because you will have a way to plan your moving and connect all the stuff.
Exactly. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I think especially because there's a lot of timings involved. We were talking about bureaucracy before, and when people want to
Exactly.
come and do that, depending on how you got your visa, right, or how you're gonna get the residency, some agents or lawyers might tell you, yes, in a couple of days it'll be fine, but there are times that the law has like actually has as timings, and then there's in practice, and that can be very different. So it's important to plan those things, and know that it can take longer, and like you said, like it could be a little bit more if we do it in a rushed way, and not you know with these timings into account. So, Oscar, one of those things that you just mentioned about the menaje de casa, the household goods, and I think one of those most asked questions that we get when a client is moving to Mexico is regarding that, the household goods, also known as menaje de casa. And there's a lot of information online that's not correct. So I want to directly ask you, what is the type of client who can get access to this menaje de casa? Do I have to be a resident, a tourist, a Mexican? Who can do it, and what is the benefit of doing a menaje de casa as well?
That's a great question, Mariana. Actually, you have to comply with some regulations in order to get the benefit to import in Mexico menaje de casa, even though you are a foreign citizen or a Mexican citizen getting back to Mexico. And the real benefit to be able to import your menaje de casa is that you will not be paying taxes for all the stuff you are importing to Mexico. But in order to comply with this or to get the benefit, I will say that we have to be careful in the regulations that we have in the law. And the second one, the documentation. So for the first part, even though you are a foreign citizen or a Mexican citizen, you will have to be lived outside Mexico for at least 6 months. You have to be living in another country. You have to have the proof that you were living in that country for at least 6 months or more. There is no problem if there is 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, no problem, at least 6 months. Then all the items has to be used for at least 6 months too. This means that all items has to be used. So you cannot import or include in your shipment new items. Electronic and appliances will be asked to check the serial number. So it's important that these electronic items have 6 months of use, because otherwise they will just retain the container. Then exclude all the prohibited and restricted items that we will eventually speak about this later. Importation of your household goods has to be done between the next 6 months after your arrival to Mexico. This is super important because I have clients that said to me, okay, look, I have been living 2 years in Mexico and I have stuff in the United States. So now I want to bring them because I understand that it's really difficult to find some furniture here. Yeah, but you have to go out for Mexico 6 months and then come back to be eligible to this menaje de casa benefit. So that are the important regulations you have to comply, so you can be allowed to import your household goods without any taxes. And the second part is the documentation. That is, we also explain this in the consultation call, because without these documents, we cannot be allowed to import your menaje de casa. I wanna split in three parts. Mm-hmm. The first one is for Mexican returning Mexicans. You will have to issue a household good certificates in the nearest Mexican consulate in your origin country, mm-hmm. even is United States, Canada, but you will have to go to the Mexican consulate and ask for this certificate. There is no way another person can ask for this document on behalf of you. This is important. This is another question that my clients ask to me, can you be able to make this paperwork for me? This is only you can do this. They will ask you for proof, 6 months living outside Mexico, and then eventually you will get this certification. There is other couple of documents that we will ask for, but this is the most important. And another really, really important point is that this certificado de homenaje de casa will only have validity for 6 months.
Oh, interesting.
That makes sense, right? You have 6 months to import your household goods after your arrival. Then you receive this certificate. You will have 6 months of validity for this certificate. So it's important that our clients that has a lot of organizations and plans
Yeah.
get this whenever the moving is ready, like a month before at least. Otherwise, the document will be issued for the second time. You will have to wait 6 months. You have to live again outside Mexico for at least 6 months and then ask for the certificate. So this is really important information for them. This is for Mexicans returning, and it also includes foreign people with permanent residence cards,
Okay.
only permanent. Then we have the second documents for the temporary residence card. So they are allowed also to have this benefit. They will not pay taxes, but the importation of these household goods will be only temporary
Mhm.
and will be synced with your temporary residence card. So if you renew it for 3 years more, you can stay 3 years more with your belongings. If you change your status for a permanent and you have all your belongings here, please get close with us so we can change that importation in customs to be a definitive importation in Mexico. So then all your stuff can stay here in Mexico. You will not have to send it back to any country. But this is the process. If you leave the country 2 years later, you receive the temporary residence, you will have to send these household goods to the other country you are going to live now. This is kind of the regulations you have to comply, a little bit a summary or the important key points. Of course, we eventually will need other documents like your temporary residence card. We cannot do the importation with the visa stamped. This
Yes.
is another part of the immigration process. And a lot of clients say, like, look, I have the visa stamp. No, we cannot do it with that visa stamp. We need the residence card. Otherwise, we will delay your shipment in origin country.
Perfect.
I think this is the most important points for regulations and documents to be aware of. And if you have any other questions, you can contact us, of course.
Yeah, no, that's just really, really valuable information because I think menaje de casa is one of those things that just we get, like we said before, a lot of questions. And then if,
Yeah,
like you mentioned, right, if you don't do it in the right timing, this is something that you missed it and now you have to plan again to do it. So one of the things we try when we're, doing the consulting with Max Life is we try to ask them about that, like, are you gonna move? Are you moving? And then we pass them to VM3 because it's important that they know about this benefit while they're going
yeah,
through the immigration process and not after, right? To avoid this. And just as a recap, and just to make sure I understood well, you explained it perfectly. So if I'm a temporary or permanent resident, as long as it's within the first 6 months that I receive my
mhm,
residency card, I can contact you. I can go to the consulate, do the menaje de casa. If I'm a temporary, of course, and I leave the country in 2 years, I have to take my things back. But if I stay until I become a permanent, which you can actually after 4 years, then we
yeah,
contact you, you change that status, and I can keep my things in Mexico, correct?
exactly.
Super interesting. And it's so valuable because it's important to know, again, the timings. Bureaucracy is involved, and it's so nice to know that we have somebody there that can, hey, you know what? We need to work on this, or this is the right time to start with this. So that's super valuable.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think this is really the most important thing you have to know about moving abroad or moving to Mexico, because even though you are moving to another country, of course, the regulation can change and will be different. However, will be kind of the same. Maybe other countries will ask you to stay living abroad 12 months, a little
Yeah,
bit more. Maybe other countries will ask you to have 3 years outside the country. So it will depend, but eventually you will have to get this information so you can prepare all the documentation.
perfect. And Oscar, another question that we get a lot is regarding our pets, right? So a lot of
Okay.
people are pet parents now and they want to bring their puppies or they want to bring, their cats, or do you help with that as well? Like what can you do with that?
Actually, I always recommend that if you can travel with your dog, with your cat in the same plane, just do that because, of course, it's gonna be stressful for the pets too. And moving with a company, I mean, it's not the same as the household goods. I receive a lot of questions like, okay, so my dog is gonna be in the container with this stuff, or how does this work? And of course not. We are not gonna send your dog in a container. It's always by air. We try to do it in a commercial airline shipments, or maybe in a cargo
Yeah.
if the size of the dog is okay with that. But most of the time, I always recommend so they can fly or fly with them. And otherwise, if they need help from another company, we will always. I can give you a reference for a good company that do that. Always ask about if they are gonna fly in a direct flight. That's important because dogs should fly in a direct flight, and then eventually they can give you the pets. But for a little bit more concern about documentations or paperwork that you should consider bringing your pets to Mexico. I do know there is no quarantine in Mexico, so that's important because in other countries you will find that, and it's kind of stressing to have 40 days off without your pet.
Oh,
And yeah, in Mexico is not it doesn't work like that. But you will have to eventually have a health certificate, at least with 7 days of validity,
okay.
and then you will always have to all the vaccines. I don't know how to say the
Yeah, yeah.
carnet.
All the vaccines
Uh,
in order. I forget the name in English, but it's in their certificate, like their medical certificate,
yeah,
all the vaccines. Correct.
yeah, that's all, and it's easier whenever you travel with your dog because being the owner will be easy if maybe in the immigration, you know, customs ask some questions or whatever, and whenever he's traveling with another person, we have to prove that there is a service included in this because we will have to ask you for the passport, for other documents that can comply and can prove that you are the owner of the dog. So could be a little bit more rough or a little bit more difficult. But of course, companies exist like this that can help you to send your pets to Mexico. Of course, we are talking about just dogs and cats. If you have another kind of pet, you should be asking to these kind of companies if you are able to bring them because of course, we have Mexico restrictions on other kind of animals. I had that good client that had like 10 rabbits, and it
Oh my
was really difficult to yeah to cross the border with the rabbits, and then drive through the end destination. It was another kind of experience. So be just be aware that you have to ask for this information whenever you want to travel with your pets.
Of course. No, no, that makes a lot of sense, Oscar. And I think it's one of those nice things, right? That at least, like you mentioned, you have a company that can help and at least you know the general rules. So like if you are planning really the listener to move your things, but you also want to ask about your animals, there's business partners that Oscar has that can help you with that and
Yeah.
himself as well. And that's super nice because it is one of the things that a lot of clients ask us about. And one of the other things, I know you mentioned an example to me once of a client that was trying to bring something that was not permitted. But like if I'm moving to Mexico, Oscar, what are some things that I should know that really I will not be permitted to bring like to Mexico? Like definitively this, Mariana, will not, you cannot bring it in. What would you say are some?
That's actually a really pretty good questions, and I get this question a lot. And and then we have these kind of clients that always tries to research. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna explain you two type of items that are not allowed in a household good shipments, and this is because all the costs and all the time frame and customs. Okay, so there are two type of items that are not allowed to be in our household goods shipment. The first one are the prohibited items, which there is no way you can ship or you can pack any type of these items. And it's really important because if the customs finds this type of items in your shipment, will eventually will take all your shipment, and maybe or probably if they don't decide you can pay maybe duties or any penalty, probably your shipment will be lost forever. So this is really important to be aware. And sometimes it's not because they doesn't allow you to take your container, it's because of all the high costs that will eventually you will be charging.
Of
Because as I said, if you're staying in the port with your shipment, 1 week could double all your whole moving proposal. So
yeah.
it's really important. And if the authorities take the container, it could be months there
Yeah.
until they release them. And whenever they release it, you will have to pay a lot of money to get back your container. So most of the times they just say like, look, I don't want a container anymore. It
Yeah.
doesn't value, you know? So it's really important to avoid introducing or packing these kind of prohibited items. These items, there is a list which is not kind of, I mean, it's normal items, narcotics, drugs, stuffed animals like trophies, or any kind of skins, animal skins
Yeah.
that are not treated or that doesn't have the CITES or CITES certificate, firearms. I mean, these are like normal things that you eventually don't have in your household goods,
Yeah.
but you have to be aware. I have clients in the US, it's normal to have firearms. So here in Mexico, you cannot be able to ship your firearms, your weapons, or whatever you have.
Yeah.
Raw animals, I already said, and maybe any. I'm having the list here.
Yeah.
Fine arts. It's really important that if you have a fine art, a registered fine art, you will have to go to Palacio de Bellas Artes here in Mexico City, so you can get a certificate that is a fine art and you can import it. This is really important. Otherwise, it could be just an ornament, just a wall art if you want.
Yeah.
But if it is a fine art, you have to declare it and you have to get this certificate in the Palacio de Bellas Artes.
Yeah.
So these are prohibited items. And the second ones, it's the category of restricted items,
Mhm.
which means that could be imported with a tax,
Mhm.
but we never recommend to send this in the shipment because this will increase the time to be in customs, increase the time to be in the port or the border, and eventually the price will be higher than just paying the taxes. You will have to pay storage, the morages, another kind of fees in the port. So eventually, if you were thinking that you would pay 20-25% of taxes on the product you will send, probably you will be paying more. And these kind of restricted items, you can find them here in Mexico in any store. So I
Yeah.
will always say I don't recommend to send it. This includes alcoholic beverage, tobacco, any kind of food, any kind of teas, spices, any kind of food cannot be shipped to Mexico. This also includes two other things that are medicines
Mhm.
and of course new items. That's the most important maybe in the list. And of course, if you want the complete list, you can send me any email. I can share with
Sure.
you, Mariana, to you can have the list, and whenever you have a client, you can share this information. This is for them actually because
No,
it's important.
it's super interesting, Oscar, and I think this is one, I mean, coming from somebody like myself that I'm not an expert in this matters. Like for example, the part of fine arts, right? you would think like, well, this is my household item, like why not and just pack it, and then turns out you can't. Like that's one of the things that it is not usual that somebody might have a fine art, but there are people that love it and they want to bring it to their house here. And also the topic about the medicine. I have a lot of clients, and maybe people that are listening has happened to them as well, but actually they order through Amazon. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but they order through Amazon essential oils or anything of those
Yeah,
to be imported, and they never get it. They never get it because it hits customs, and customs doesn't want to, to clear it. And imagine if this happens with a container. Imagine like all your things, like you're mentioning, all your things there. You're doing this, of course, because you want to avoid high cost, and because in the end, the what we're talking about is the menaje de casa is you don't want to buy things here. You want to just bring
exactly.
the things that you use normally. And if the costs are going to go up so high because you just didn't know that this specific item was not permitted, how sad, right? That's why it's so important to have somebody like VM3 to be able to tell you, you know what? I don't suggest this. Let's find another way. Or you know what?
Exactly.
Let's get it in Mexico. It's not going to be a big deal, but it's important. And for somebody that doesn't know a lot about it, it's so interesting to know like what some of these items that are involved.
And
So
it happened to me a lot whenever Mexicans are going to another country because we are, the kind of persons that we want to pack our Valentina sauce and our tajin and tortillas and beans. And so, yeah,
everything,
there's
yeah.
a lot of stuff that we but I always say to our clients, you have an option. You can take it in your flight. Uh,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
but if you are thinking that maybe you can send 10 boxes of Valentinas. No, that's that's not how it works. So,
Yeah.
yeah, with that recommendation, cosmetics is another product that is restricted.
Oh, wow.
So I always say like, hey, I know you have a lot of cosmetics, and it's okay, but you have to fly it with you because otherwise you cannot ship this. Or maybe you can find them in Mexico. There is
Yeah.
no kind of problem to buy these kind of products in Mexico. So it's always important to be aware of the items that you cannot include in the shipment, and also be responsible to not do it, because I always there is a way I always explain to my clients. It's like whenever you take a flight, you
Yeah.
have your carry-on suitcase, and if security finds something that is prohibited, the the responsible is you,
Yeah,
even though maybe the suitcase was packed for from other person, from your family member, from other person. The responsibility is 100% yours.
oh,
So this is the same as container is like your carry-on. If you send
mm,
stuff that are prohibited, there is no way we can help you. There is no way. And the only responsible on this is the client. So you will have to pay a lot of stuff. And so I always recommend, and this is the reason why we always do this consultancy
yeah.
call, so they can be aware of all this stuff. We have all this information. We are part of an International Bovine Association, IAM, in the US. So we are allowed to check and to have all regulations around the world. So any country you are going to, we will send you all the prohibited items for that country. So including Mexico. So for Mexico, this all this information is for Mexico. If you wanna check another country, it's totally different. Regulations, prohibited items are different.
Yes.
So it's important that you always check. And even though it's the same law, the ports in Mexico has different processes too. So even though it's the same law, if you go to and you clear your shipment in Manzanillo, it will be probably different the documents that we will need than in Veracruz, even though it's the same law in Mexico. So
Wow.
it's important to be accompanying all these moving process.
No, that's super interesting. I actually didn't know that about the ports. And just lastly, Oscar, regarding this super valuable information, and I thank you so much again for giving all this to us because it's super important. You know, when talking about cost, I know that, and I always tell clients this, I can never tell you like seeing you it's gonna cost you this much only. No, because every case is
Exactly.
different. You know, like you said, you have the consulting to be able to see, you know, what things to have in mind, what's the best way of bringing them, etc. And also the guarantee of the paperwork, right? Because in the end there's a lot of paperwork involved. It's not just putting your things in boxes and sending it. So my I guess
Exactly.
my last two questions would be talking about a container. If I'm planning on bringing doing the menaje de casa and doing this container, what is like the initial cost involved? Like saying, okay, Mariana, I don't want to spend more than this much, then maybe you should not look into sending it with a moving company. It's better that you get your things in Mexico. And then
Yeah.
what starting point would you say, okay, this is worth it? And then how do you help with the part of the documents? Like do I have to get into that or you take care of everything?
That's a really interesting question. It's difficult to answer it because, of course, it depends in a lot of facts. Maybe the cost of your own furniture. Maybe you have one chair that the value is, I don't know, 1,500.
Yeah.
Uh, so it will depend, but getting that aside, like the value of your stuff,
Mhm.
because of course you have to also include the sentimental value of
Of course.
some items. There are some items that you actually can include in the insurance also, but you will receive eventually the price of the market of that stuff. So that's the reason it's really important for us that we packed all the things so we can assure that every items will arrive without damages. This is the first point. And relating to the cost, I believe this is not a cheaper cost,
Mhm.
and also try to not think about like a parcel service like DHL, like FedEx. This is totally different.
Yeah, yeah.
So whenever you are trying to send a couple of wall art or a couple of boxes, you can then go to a parcel service and try to ask for a quotation. This is the best thing. Whenever you are, and it's kind of difficult because we always do the estimations in cubic meters or cubic feet.
Yeah.
So maybe people is not really doesn't have the reference of that measures, but like one room for your home or your apartment, it's okay to quote with us. So whatever a room has, like could be a bed, could be only boxes, but a room that could be maybe a reference, and the price will start around 3,000 and a half, 4,000 US dollars. So I hope this could be a reference for for
Yeah.
all the people involved. But at the end, it will also depends on the type of the move, and this is important. And whenever you have these questions, and I know this is kind of the questions that our clients do also ask for us, but we always say like, okay, let me quote because I know you will feel a little bit like compromise with us because I'm quoting, I'm working with you, but don't feel like that. Let me quote because I will never know the exact price if I don't see the stuff you are sending. Maybe I will have other solutions. I have shared containers, or maybe it could be better that you reduce the volume a little bit and you will have a better quotation. So this is part of our service. If we saw, and I'm gonna try to do an example. There is a person that has 30 cubic meters that is the maximum capacity for a 20 feet container.
Mhm.
And whenever I do the survey, I realize that he has 35 cubic meters. So maybe it's better to reduce 5 cubic meters from your stuff and go to the small container than sending the next container that is the double of the size, 40 feet, and you will only eventually will fill that container less than the half.
Yeah.
So I will present both options. Maybe clients say, look, all the stuff I want to send them. You can choose. that will be a 40-foot container. You will not have the maximum capacity of that container, but that's the proposal. But
Yeah.
if you want to save some money, reduce 5 cubic meters and just send 30. So we do kind of that services. It's important to be close with us because we also need to check the destinations. Part of that is the destination. In Yucatan, we have operations in the Progreso port, but eventually it would depend from the origin country if there is any shipping line that will send containers to that port. Otherwise, we will have to send it to Veracruz, you know? So
Yeah.
there is a lot of different factors that we have to study in whenever we do a proposal. So I hope that 4,000 US dollar will be maybe the minimum with the minimum volume.
Yeah.
Uh, but then eventually it can be higher. Maybe I will say that the average for a move,
Mhm.
15 cubic meters, is around 8,000 to 10,000 US dollars.
Perfect.
This also will depend on the insurance if you want to hire it and how much does your belongings value, you know? So this is like a range of the prices, and this will include door to door, of course.
Perfect. No, that makes and I love doing that question, Oscar. I think you answered it perfectly because it's one of those questions that just so you can see whoever's looking at this video can see how difficult it is to answer that question. I think you did it perfectly, but it is difficult to just say a number because like you mentioned every case is different and it happens the same with immigration. Every case is different. There's
Exactly.
strategies that can be created, personalized to you, and that's the value of hiring an expert in the field. And I love that example, right? Look, you can get the bigger container, you can, get the smaller one and leave some things behind. But that's the strategy. That's what's involved, and that's what the consulting is for. And definitely talking about, the prices, I think you narrowed it pretty good. I think that if you have two boxes, go ahead and, do it with the plane or ship it DHL. But and for people who are listening, and they ask about furniture because a lot of I don't know if it happened to you, Oscar, but a lot of our clients say, "Can I get furniture in Mérida, for example, here where we are in Yucatan?"
Yeah.
Honestly speaking, furniture here is expensive. I compare it to furniture, for example, in the United States. Furniture here, like good furniture, is expensive. So
Yeah.
if you love your furniture, you have sentimental value with it, and you compare prices and you see the price here, it might be really worth it. You might say, well, it's a lot of money, but how much is it going to cost you to do, get all those things here? So definitely, going to VM3 and expressing all those needs and you looking at the things will be and give them a personalized strategy is totally worth it. I think it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and I think there is another question that I receive a lot is like if it's if it really worth to send my belongings, my furniture, or should I buy the stuff in Mexico? And look, I have comments from expats. This is not my point of view. This is our comments for current expats. Some of them are from US, other ones from Canada. I have from one from Panama that said to me, "I never thought how long will it take to deliver my furniture that I just bought. So I will eventually wait for 1 month, 2 months, maybe the same time that the moving will take. And
yeah,
I didn't accept the moving because I thought 3 months were too much time. But whenever I go to Mexico, I cannot just go to a store, buy the furniture and send it to my house. They
yeah,
all Most of the furniture, the good ones, are only have showrooms. You
and
will choose and they will send it to you, but it will take time. So check these points if you whenever you are just thinking about selling, because also selling,
that
it's
also, yeah,
almost like presents, like you are doing a lot of presents because or donations. You cannot sell your furniture with a value that worth it.
no,
It's difficult that people just buy furniture, used furniture with a good price. So eventually you will lose money there. Then you will go to Mexico, get all this process to buy new stuff, and it's different. So
Exactly.
research, make your research, check your times, and maybe it's better to move your all your stuffs to
Exactly.
Mexico.
It's comparing and it really whatever's like stress free for you, right? Because in the end, there's time involved and there's money involved. So it's just looking for the best strategy. But thank you
Exactly.
so much, Oscar. This has been like even revealing to me. I feel like there's a lot of things that now I understand a lot better that I didn't know. And it's really, really interesting. I hope that we can do more videos like this in the future with more
For
information.
sure.
But tell us how clients can contact us. We're gonna leave the information below, but what's the best way to contact you?
You can find us in social media, Instagram, Facebook, also LinkedIn, and we have our web page and our sales team. So I will send all the social media information so you can check it, and you can contact us from anywhere from that parts, like in web page if you want it by Instagram, even WhatsApp. All our team has business WhatsApp with all the information, so you can also check our presentations there and schedule your appointment, schedule your survey. That's the most important thing.
That's the first step to go to. No, thank you so much, Oscar. Thank you so much to VM3 as well. In general, all the team for, helping us with these doubts. You want to move to Mexico now, this is your dream with your family. Oscar and VM3 can definitely help you with the moving. If you are starting with thinking about the immigration process as well, or finding a property, also contact us. We would love to help you as a team to make this transition the easiest possible, stress-free possible as it can be with bureaucracy involved. And of course, please check below the contacts for Oscar so that you can contact VM3. And again, if you like this video, please feel free to subscribe and to leave a comment down below. I love, seeing the comments below and being able to answer your questions. And in the end, this again is an effort to make this information free and give, true legal customs information that can actually help you when you're moving to Mexico. So see you on the next video. Thank you.
See you, Mariana. Thank you very much.
Bye.